Hello, everyone. Welcome to the most recent edition of On the Couch with the Dogs Board, and I'm here with a very, very, very special guest. To be honest, he is the first person, if not once the first, but to be the first person that I've wanted to interview since I started this interview series. But as you can probably tell from the upcoming interview, what he's going to say, he's a very busy man. But without further ado, the master martial artist, martial arts teacher, public service worker, and all-around competitive martial arts fighter as well, Master Colby Nelson.
Thank you, sir. It's a very flattering intro. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, I would like to start off with this. What made you enter into the world of martial arts in the first place, Master Nelson?
Well, unfortunately, that would be bullying. All throughout, I want to say elementary and that first year going towards middle school, which is when I started, I believe the 6th grade, about the beginning of last decade, I want to say, is when I got into it. Basically when you're in some of these environments, you talk a little different, might walk a little different, and not everybody's going to say, oh, that's cool, that's unique, he's an interesting guy. Some of them are going to say, oh, this guy, what's he doing? Hey, let's go make fun of him. Let's maybe even hit him or whatnot. So you're looking for an answer at that point in your life. And it just so happened that the karate school that I went to was right down the road from my actual school, right within walking distance. So it kind of became clear what needed to be done after, one too many encounters with these bullies.
Wow. To be honest, this is the first time that when I've interviewed a martial artist that they told me that violence against themselves is one of their main motivating factors into getting into martial arts. Well, again, on behalf of every young person, I apologize, Master Nelson, that you went through that. But with that being said, though, how has that shaped you in life period, including to your martial arts life?
Well, that's basically helped everything always stay centered and focused on, what's the most important thing in all this. And when I say that, it means that the first time I, and maybe some of the other people that are out there that have done a martial art, stepped in to the dojo, the studio, they were looking to get that confidence, to feel better about themselves, and to know that if they ever got confronted again, at least I know how to protect myself. They're going to be met with some sort of resistance, and you always think when you get to doing this for a certain length of time, you might get proficient in whatever it is that you're doing, your techniques and everything, but you have to always remember what it was like to be that first timer in there, coming in without that confidence, looking for that answer. And that has always, been in the back of my mind with everything I do in terms of teaching people, of course. I see those same types of kids all the time in classes that I teach coming in, and they don't really, have that confidence to know, hey, I can defend myself or make this person back off if I needed to. And you have to keep yourself, keep it in mind or keep it in your purview. You were that same way, and then, of course, getting into adult life, you might say, you also want to keep in mind, hey, there's going to be bullies in the workplace or just generally people that think they can get away with things they really shouldn't be. And you're not going to maybe beat them up, but you're certainly going to have the confidence now to be able to stand up to them in a verbal sense.
That's very well said. With that being said, what are the different styles that you are practiced in?
Well, I got kind of lucky with the first style I did because it was more of what you might call an eclectic system. Just the term was coined American freestyle karate, but it encompassed Chinese Kempo. We also worked a lot of trapping, which is what you would find in Wing Chun systems, the Chinese martial arts, particularly two-man drills like Chi Sao and things like that you see oftentimes with things like, I guess I want to say Bruce Lee, Guru Dan and Asano, comes out of the JKD side of things. But I've done that, and also the weapon system that we practice, founded by Master Roy Williams, is called Lissajo Do. And that's something that I've trained with. Definitely furthers all of our insight into the various weapons and just overall flow and range of motion. But beyond that, I did do a couple of other styles, not as extensively as our main system that I got my black belt in. You know, like I did train a bit of Muay Thai. It also sort of supplemented what we already did.
Well, that's extensive. But I see that you brought up Muay Thai. You know, there's another person who I've interviewed recently, another martial arts master and fighter by the name of Markel Bell. We interviewed him at the tail end of last year. You know, he mentioned you in the interview. Just like you and I, you and him, you two have a very long history.
Right.
Do you mind speaking a bit about Mr. Bell and your relationship and how you two have gotten to know each other over the years?
Absolutely. He's a great guy. By the way, he's the one who actually got me into that. Him and another one of our friends out of the three, whose name O'Shea, they went much further than I did, naturally. But as far as when we first met, yeah, he was actually a student of another karate instructor here in Jacksonville named Sensei Jerry Williamson, and he was friends with my instructor. And when I was out there training, I want to say purple belt, I believe, my instructor said you should go over to Jerry Williams School because he's always got people for you to spar with, because our particular school was getting a little bit low on partners around that time. So I went over one night, and I'm sure Markel mentioned this story to you. Of course, I go in there. He's already, 6 foot, all legs. You know, he's in the Army, so he's in good shape with everything he's doing. And the first day we meet, of course we spar, and I don't even think that we got a chance to talk before the sparring even started. So that's always a good memory. He's definitely an excellent martial artist. He's always been a good friend, a good trainer. Again, he became the world champion in kickboxing. Again, he went very, very far with it. And I'm just always, proud of his work ethic that he has in that area.
Wow. You told the story almost in a mirror image of how he told it. But similarly to that, though, since I know you have a competitive history in terms of competitive fighting, but also within the acting world, do you mind maybe giving a small pedigree explanation on both of those worlds?
Yes, sir. Well, with the competitive aspect of everything, I first started competing in 2014. And at that time, we didn't have too many people from my school that were actually going out there on the international type circuit. First, I started out locally, which is everything that's going on here in Florida. And the reason I did that is basically because my instructor, he would say, you're doing fine for where you are in terms of, being a good student in the dojo. And when you start to think that you're the best in a room, in one single room, that's one room out of hundreds in this city, let alone the state, then you get a little bit confused. So you got to go out there and see the world, you might say. And so I did. And that started first on the local level with the events they would do here in Jacksonville, a bit of the, I want to say the PAL events and these NFMAA events. That's North Florida Martial Arts Association. Those tournaments would be going on. and I won my first 4 in 2014 through 2015. And the first time I actually got second place was at the U.S. Open, which is, of course, a world tournament. And I was a green belt at that time. I got second place. But out of all of these, you always get a little bit better the more you do them. At each tournament you learn something. As we often say, you never lose, you learn. So every one of them, every single match, every single event, win, lose, or draw, there's something that was taken away from that. And the big thing that I took away from competing was to think deeply about the world. It's one thing to see a video of somebody doing something that's impressive, but to actually see them do it right in front of you, you realize, oh wow, there is so much more talent that surpasses what I'm doing, and that is very, very valuable.
Wow. Okay. But do you mind also speaking about your acting history or stunt history too? Because there's a project recently that I've seen you in for a few seconds, but I forgot what the actual name of it was.
Yeah, you blink and you'll miss it. The name was a movie called Hittaz. It's Hittaz. And that was actually produced by my buddy Dennis, who's also a martial artist, MMA fighter here in Jacksonville. And he's done more projects than just that, by the way. And what's good about that is he'd asked me to do it and have a little part in it, which was very, very good because there were a couple other movies, believe it or not, that I was actually supposed to be in that were non-martial arts related. But they never materialized for one reason or another. The one that I just about had with all but my ink to the page was a little movie called Reefer Madness, which is a remake of a movie from the 50s, I believe. It's like an anti-drug PSA, and they wanted me to be in that. But it just never worked out. So when Dennis asked me, it really was perfect because he's in town. And that was technically the debut, you might say, being able to do that. And when we worked on it, of course, I have a very minor part there. And what you saw was probably everything with it. But what was good about that was to get to see, sort of working with people in another medium other than just trying to hit them. Oh, I hit you, there it was. No, you're trying to sort of choreograph something. And that's an art form in itself. I'm sure you've seen numerous martial arts movies before. Well, when you work on a set like that, you deepen your appreciation for what they go through. It's very, very difficult, to set it up to where you don't hit the person and they sail the hit, or you hold out a technique an inch or two from somebody. That was a skill set in itself, and I'm definitely looking to do more of those and, get some stunt work done. I have a friend, actually. His name's Justin Lee Ford, and he is a stunt guy. He's up in Atlanta, Georgia, and we were talking about maybe doing some things with that, get my foot in the door. So hopefully I can have some good news for you eventually.
Oh, well, I would love to hear, and I know our listeners will too. But I'm about to ask a question that, most likely why a good bit of the viewers, if not the majority of them, would love to hear.
Yes.
As everyone, or I know a good portion of the people know, you are the master, owner, creator, and head teacher for a martial arts school called Colby's Karate Club. You are the first black karate instructor who owns and runs their own school that I've interviewed so far. So thank you for helping make history in that regard, sir. But please tell the history on how you became a martial arts teacher and you created and essentially run your own school.
Yes, sir. Well, before I do, I'm honored to have some historical mark on the show. That's, really good to hear. But this started really, I want to say in 2017, but before that, the precursor to this again was working with my instructor. My first teacher's name was Lee Barton. He passed away not too long ago in 2017, but we had a school in Ponte Vedra right out near the beach. And when I would go out there with him, because we lived so close together, I'd ride in his car and we'd go out there. I became sort of his assistant instructor, and it wasn't quite planned, but it just sort of worked out that way, you know, because he noticed me one day helping out the kids and teaching sort of a beginner class, and this is actually something a lot of people don't know, is at that time I was a purple belt, and it was just us one day, and I was teaching an intro class for some young kids, and he had noticed it, and he was really impressed. I think it was the first time he'd actually seen me teach. And he said, from this moment on, you are now a brown belt. And just like that, he made me a brown belt. And he mentioned that you could be an excellent school owner. I have total faith in you on that. And when he said that, you know, that is what sowed the seed for just after, you know, a year, about a year after he passed, unfortunately, due to cancer. I never forgot what he said. And I never forgot all the work and the plans that we were, you know, trying to establish from that school. And from him saying that, I was ready to go full tilt being an instructor then, but it didn't quite work out. But he said, oh, you could do it. And, you know, when your instructor says something, it just totally, you know, puts some fuel in your tank, you might say. It was a big, you know, boost in terms of the self-esteem. So I felt like there's no better time to get this started than now. You know, no one else is really kind of picking up on, you know, starting up any type of teaching. And I always wanted to do that because it's one thing to just, you know, keep on being a competitor. You know, you're going out there for you, and that's okay. But I wanted to give, you know, like we said in the beginning, all those things that I got out of the martial arts, those benefits, the confidence of knowing that you can protect yourself and you have something that you can feel good about. There's so many people who need that. And what good would it do me to just, you know, keep on holding it back or working at some job, you know, and all those benefits that could be given to the person that I'm servicing at this job, you know. So I felt like there was just no other option for me. There's no other calling than just getting out there and teaching, because I love karate and I love to help people.
That's excellent. That's excellent. One thing about it, I have technically, in a way, been on the journey with you because,
you have.
You know, you've been in constant contact with me, especially over the past few years concerning how everything is going, you know, the ups and downs and everything. But, and also, you know, the name changes as well, but seeing your motivation, and even the motivation you've given me with the support and different advice you've tried giving me over the years has always been very, very, very heartwarming in a way. Because one thing about it, Colby, is that I love seeing young black people, especially young black men, because of how disenfranchised we are, and seeing them being entrepreneurial, but not just being entrepreneurial, but things concerning education, concerning martial arts, and even when it comes to history of, because, you know, black people, even though many people try to hide it, our connection to martial arts goes back to the dawn of history and creation.
Right.
Like, to the dawn, even though most people may not know that, or they try to hide it, you know, it goes back to the dawn of it. So just the fact that you, as a young black man, has gone as far as you have to push martial knowledge and to push health and everything else surrounding that has been great, Colby. So I give you kudos, and I know many people do as well. But what has been some of the struggles that you've been through being the owner and head teacher of a martial arts school?
Well, the struggles in the very beginning, and still even now sometimes, they're numerous, but the ones that that stand out was the first time I started teaching, and of course you have been on this journey, so you may have seen these photos. There was no location, meaning not even a physical building, not even on a community center. What I did to get students was I worked at the Gateway Publix, which I'm sure many of our listeners are familiar with. I was an employee there, and my first students were employees who were there. About two of them at the start, and then I got 3 others that were sort of on and off. So there was only 5 students for basically a year. And the way you would get them at the time, being back then, I didn't have any type of really marketing knowledge or the business side. I just knew karate, and I was a competitor at that same time. I was going in and out of town to the different NASCA events. There was a split focus in those days. But the challenge was always getting people to understand this is an actual, dojo. They're like, oh, no, I'm just walking in, man. We're going to work out, and I get to go home when I feel like it. No, there's a schedule, and they couldn't, some people in the beginning couldn't really wrap their mind around that type of structure because we were outdoors. The class in the very beginning, we did it in the front yard of one of my students' grandparents' houses. And the yard wasn't always cut. It was right off Moncrief Road. So that right there stopped us from getting any, you might say high profile students. Another thing is I moved to Ronnie Miller Park, and we were still struggling to actually get people. The problem in the beginning was there was no marketing. There was just nothing. There was me going up to, a coworker and yanking their chain, basically saying, hey man, I'm teaching, you should come out here. That was all it was in the very beginning, and the rate back then was $20 a week, and there were 3 classes a week. So there was no real room for growth in the beginning. That was the big challenge, is self-inflicted issues in the beginning. The big other challenge was just no facility, so people were out there in the heat. Some people didn't want to work out that way. You were subject to the weather. So if it rained, guess what? You canceled it. Then there was also, and this is kind of another shocking thing. When I first started teaching, the first, I want to say 4 or 5 months, I wasn't even a black belt yet, if you can believe that. Yeah, I was a brown belt teaching, so if you did manage to convince somebody to come out in those days, they say, whoa, hold on, what is this? He's not even a black belt, what's happening here? You got to get into a long explanation about it all, Oh, well, there was this and this going on, and, this and that, and some people didn't let the material speak for itself in the very beginning. We've graduated past all those problems, as you can see, but when we reflect on that, and this is something for any business owners, and entrepreneurs, and we know a lot, between the two of us, is I just want to tell our listeners, don't give up in the beginning. You've got to be tenacious, and work past these obstacles, because so long as you stay involved and stay consistent, everyone around you will see that this just wasn't a quick cash grab. You're really in it for the long haul. And the longer you stay, you'll basically be a rolling stone. You'll accumulate knowledge. You'll learn, what not to do and how to address people in a professional way. As long as you stay with it, don't give up, and be interested and further in your education on your respective field.
Wow, that's very well said. But, so, where is your school located at currently, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, no problem.
For the listener.
Yeah. Well, right now, we're over in the Riverside area, so we kind of moved a little bit over. Not too far from anyone, since downtown's typically not too far. We're right in what would be considered sort of a type area. and that's off of May Street, right through the passage of 5 Points. And what I'm doing there is basically giving everybody sort of a good hub they can work out in. It's owned by association, so it's very nice of them to sort of allow us to be there, but we are going to actually be hoping to grow and relocate in the next few months to the church that on the address just escaped me there, which is totally bad, but this is actually a new development. We're going to be hoping to move there pretty soon. But our address right now, and that is on,
Okay. Well, Colby, that, to be honest with you, is my last question. But one thing that I would like to tell the listeners and viewers of the YouTube version, if and most likely when we have Mr. Colby on the show again, we are definitely going to dwell into his story on how he eventually got his black belt. I've heard a good bit of the story myself personally, but I know people would love to hear it, Colby. Hear the entire story.
Yeah, it's like a movie plot or something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But before I close, Master Nelson, is there anything you would like to say to us? Anything you'd like to say to the viewers? Ask the viewers? Anything of that nature? Any last comments?
Well, yes. I want to say for everybody, that the number one thing, that we should be sort of seeking out, for ourselves in these different career options that we have, as so many people that I know, they're kind of sort of in limbo on what they want to do with their life. I think that you should always be looking for the thing that you feel is your God-given passion, not necessarily just trying to make money. We got to do that, though. There's no doubt on that. But what you want to think about is you could just go to Amazon and put enough hours in and make money. But who wants to do that all of their life? There's more to it than just paying bills. So you should really hone in on what is the thing that I'm most passionate about in my life? What is the thing that I know I would never get tired of and I could fixate listeners for hours on end talking about or doing? You find that thing and you figure out how to be a professional at that particular, endeavor, activity, whatever it might be. And when you find out how to be a professional from it, you'll never have to work again. And that's sort of the goal that we've got, you and I, as you know, with what you do, that's the goal, and that's the same with what I do. You let your passion become your career, and it's never a job, it's never a chore, and that's the best, most stress-free way to live. We don't just love this stuff for nothing. There's a purpose behind our feelings and, our affinities for things. So you find out what that passion is, find out how you can be a professional, and don't give up until you get where you want to be in your life.
Thank you. And I thank you personally, but I know the viewers also do as well. Like I said, Colby, it has been an honor to have you on the show, but really an honor to know you and to see how far you've come.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I'm glad that we could finally, get it going. It's been great to be on, and I'm so proud of how your show has grown, and the people you've got. It has taught me a lot too, You've got different educators there, and I'm proud of it. I really am thankful that you had me on here.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you again. Before I forget, I'm sorry, everyone. What are the different social media handles that they can follow you, your school, and different things of that nature on?
You can find us, of course, on Facebook. That's probably where you'll see the most of everything. Colby's Karate Club. Now, you're going to want to spell Colby with a K for this. that actually was a funny thing, really quick. Grandmaster Roy Williams, he just sort of advised me one day, gave me a call on the phone. He said, you should spell it with a K, make it flow a little bit better. And I said, oh, that's a good idea. So yeah, when you spell it on Facebook, it's Colby Karate Club, and then it's the same on Instagram, Colby's Karate Club. And we could definitely use some engagement with Instagram. So you can find us on the two primary platforms, definitely.
Excellent. Well, everyone, the links to those will be in the description. And also, you will have pictures as well for you to be able to recognize it on the YouTube version of this interview. But with that being said, thank you everyone for listening. This will be on the download and streaming platforms first, and then YouTube soon after. But